welcome to another Coffee with Kilroy. Today, I'm going to page through, this is a book, isn't it? Well, it's kind of a book, it's a PDF, but I'm going to page through Play the 7 Years' War, 1756 to 1763, number 2. I'll put a link to it, but I did cover number 1 right here, which was another PDF, but I covered number 1 earlier on a Coffee with Kilroy, so I'll put a link to that so you will not feel like you're being left out. Now, these do come in books as well. You can get these books. I picked these up off of Amazon, but they're put out by the Soldiershop Publishing, which I believe comes out of Italy. At least the books are in English and in Italian, split page. But so they do come in book format. However, I do believe that the PDF format for this game and for what you're trying to accomplish here is probably best, because in these books you're printing out miniatures that are in the pages, but they're on the front and backs of pages, so you're going to have to like bend the spine and make copies and then try to make a good copy onto some whatever paper you want and the like. So it becomes a little bit more cumbersome to use the books, where if you have a PDF, you can just print out whatever page you want to print out multiple pages of that. You can upgrade your printer or quality or print or paper or whatever you want to do. I printed these out just quick and dirty just to get a feel for them and get a look at them. I got these from Soldiershop Publishing. They sent them to me in a file because I've been covering some of their stuff, and so that was kind of a complimentary there. So I want to thank them for that, and want to bring this to you so you can look at these as well. If you're a miniatures player, this is a somewhat maybe of a low cost way of getting into different areas of a conflict with paper miniatures. There is quite a bit of do-it-yourself involved here in printing these out and then like folding them over and making stands for them. But for the most part, the graphics are good. Now, don't rely on the complete graphics in here because I printed these out on a low-quality budget printer, but your mileage may vary depending on what kind of resources you have. So with that, let's have some coffee. And let's get into the book here. This one is covering the Austrian, French, Russian, and Allied armies, whereas the previous one covered the Prussian, British, and Hanoverian armies. So we're getting the full picture, I guess, of the 7 Years' War. This is primarily in Europe, the 7 Years' War in Europe here. This is number 2. There are the authors, and then you get into background of the 7 Years' War, and again you have English on one side and Italian on the other. So if you want to brush it up on your Italian or brush it up on your English, you can compare the two there if you want. There's a section in each one of these books on how to assemble these, because again these are front and back on these pages, but if you're PDF you can just have separate pages, and then how you want to print these out and what kind of paper, and maybe use better ink than I'm using, and then you can print these out. And so the book is going to have some orders of battle, context, a little bit about the warfare during that period. It's going to have a self-contained rules for playing the 7 Years' War. So it's not all the rules in all these books are the same, because they go anywhere from the 600s up to now in the 1700s and beyond. So the rules will be different, specific to that area or that period. However, they're not really complex. There are only a couple pages. There's only a few charts. It's not an overly complex miniature system. But there's an example of some of the miniatures you're going to have in here, and they're basically just fold over. That you print these out on whatever paper or whatever ink, and then you fold these over. And most of this book is going to be that. Here's more how to assemble, and then you're right into lots of miniatures. And as I said, the nice thing about the PDF is, you can print out, if you want a lot more of these kind of troops, you can print out, 3, 4, 5 pages of that and have as many of those troops as you desire. And there's a lot of variety in here, and there's a lot of color, palette, and trying to get it down to the period and the right uniforms and the right leaders and the right banners and all that accoutrement that goes along with this. So in some respects, these books can kind of be somewhat of a resource book. I know a lot of people use like Osprey books for uniforms and what have you. And so these books might serve that purpose as well, of giving you an idea of the color palette or the right uniform designs of the period. Now you're getting into the 7 Years' War, talking a little bit about that. And again, English and Italian. And then there's going to be miniatures like on almost every other page, or sometimes back-to-back pages. Here's the rules of the game. Again, not very complicated. The soldiers, formations. And then there's some soldiers and formations for you. Then deployment, game sequence, movement, fire. And again, some more soldiers and or mounted charges, melee, commanders. And there's some charges, melee, and commanders right there. Then you get into the charge. Here's the war game tables, movement, shooting range, melee, and then that's English and then Italian. So there's the core of the game. And print this out on maybe a little bit harder stock, and now you have a card stock, and then you have this off the side as your main player aid. These are your charts for the game. So again, not that complex, but that's a plus and a minus. The minus side is it might not be meaty enough for you. It might not go into the detail that you really want to explore in doing miniatures for this period. However, on the plus side, this is a little bit more of a low budget way to get into miniatures. You don't have to buy the leaden or plastic miniatures. You don't have to spend hours painting it. Of course, I'm not a painter, so that's not something I would get into, and I know that's a big part of the miniatures hobby, but in this case, you don't have to do any of that. You're buying it in a paper format to get it to the table a little bit quicker after assembly. There you go. Some French infantry there. And then you're getting into a lot of background on the different types of formations, or the differences between the different countries and how they organize their troops. Here's some wagons, or the ability to build some of either your artillery or ammunition or what have you for support. Here's the Austrian army, talking a little bit about that. So there is some context in these books as well, so you can use them as a reference, not only for the color palette, but also for some of the background of the armies as well. Here's the Russian army, and some graphics in here as well. More French infantry there. Saxon army here. And scenery for the 7 Years' War. This is kind of talking about some of the background, the order of battle, and the kind of the context for some of these, for some of the battles you might want to do during this conflict. And again, both in English and Italian. And again, my printer was not the highest quality, so don't hold that against this. But I still think you get a good feel for how these come out. Quite a few miniatures in here, and the fact that if you get it in a PDF, you can print as much or as little as you want or need, depending on what battles you are doing. So quite a bit of context in this one. This is mainly about the differences of the factions or countries that they're adding to this book. Each of the two books, 1 and 2 of this series, cover different nations or nationalities and their armies and the like. Here's Russia here. There's some Russian infantry. Then you get into some buildings, for some landscape and scenery for your battles. Kind of interesting there. So these are, all relatively self-contained as far as providing you with quite a bit of miniatures and some backup buildings and the like for whatever battles you want to simulate in the 7 Years' War. And here's some of their other titles they have in their lineup. And again, they are available in book format, but they're also available in, there's the back of the book there. They're also available in PDF like this. And again, this was sent to me by Soldiershop, so I want to thank them for that. But they sent it to me so I can show it to you all. And again, I think the PDF is, for this line of books, I like books and I like war game books and the like, especially for references, but these line of books, if you really want to get into the miniatures, the paper miniatures, the PDF might be the better way to go with that. So that is what I have for you today. Thanks for stopping by. Always, always, always appreciate it. Let me know that you stopped by dropping me a comment. It could be about anything. It could be about this book. It could be about number 1 in this series. It could be about any of the other games in this series, or it could be about miniatures in general or paper miniatures in general, and what you think about that aspect of the hobby. Anyway, as always, thanks for stopping by and have a good one. Thanks for watching.